What's going on, people? Let's talk about concerts, right? That's the thing that I do with my time most of the time. I mean, it was a little rough in the whole COVID era or whatever because, it wasn't really a thing. But outside of that, I've been putting in a lot of miles and hours and dollars into that part of my life since 2003, right? So yeah, let's rewind time just a wee bit. Actually, it's a long bit, isn't it? Because that was 21 years ago, right? Yeah, that was a while back. So back in the olden days in 2003, right? Yeah, 2003, I guess. When I was getting into going to stuff and whatnot. I had gone to a concert when I was younger, right? This wasn't my first time seeing music. The first ever show, I guess, would have been whenever the Janet Jackson tour for her Black Cat song. So, like, I was like 8, I guess, so maybe 90? I don't know. So, I guess technically that was the first one. But as an adult, going out to things on my own, the first show that I went to was at the House of Blues in South Carolina, right? So, Myrtle Beach, House of Blues, South Carolina. It was Cottonmouth Kings, right? I had heard something about them before. I'm not quite sure how, but I did. And so I was like, okay, well, that could be something to do. And so I go there and with like a friend of mine from work and stuff, and it was like amazing. I'm like, man, these guys are really cool. They got all these songs that I like. I didn't really know much about them other than the one or two albums that I had bought in high school over the previous couple years. But I'm like, yeah, these guys are like really entertaining. And then I saw like one of my friends from like that lived near me or whatever. And he was up there and he's like running around like stage diving and stuff. I'm like, oh man, and I knew he was from California. So I'm like, oh, do you like know them? Is that why you're able to get up there? He's like, no man, I'm just out there in the crowd doing it. I'm like, oh. And then I say to my friend that I went up there was like, you trying to be out there in the crowd doing it? He's like, yeah man. And I'm like, all right, let's do that. So then we're out there, we're doing the same thing, a lot of crowd surfing, stage diving, because why not? I'll tell you why not. Because when you do that, when you commit to the stage dive, you gotta hope that your friend is committing to catching you and hopefully has some other people around to help. Because when he's just trying by himself, you hit that floor and you hit that floor hard. I learned that the hard way. So just a little piece of advice for you. Some of you might be thinking, well, Tristan, maybe you shouldn't be jumping off stages. I mean, that's a valid point. I'm not going to dispute it. But have you tried it before? It's pretty all right. Either way, getting back on into things, right? So times were good, and I'm thinking, I'm going to do this more often. And I did for the next however long I was living in South Carolina. I was a pretty frequent flyer over at the House of Blues up in Myrtle Beach, right? Saw Crystal Method, Goldfinger, Puddle of Mud, right? Finger 11, right? Yeah, Finger 11, Stone Sour. Whole lot of things came through there, and I was there for the bulk of it. So, and then I just kind of got into that, just kept going and stuff, because the thing was, for me, like, and then later I started, like, learning how to play music and stuff, so I don't get so much into that anymore, which is mostly on me for being lazy and, not really pursuing it, but I guess that's the reason that a lot of us, if we're being honest, don't do some of the things we would like to do, right? Just laziness. But either way, so this right here, I do consider music to be my number one overall interest just because of the actual time I put into it. I mean, wrestling it's high up there, but yeah, it's like right there. They're like super close, but the music parts just gets the edge. So for me, like driving around all the time, listening to all this stuff, whatever, it kind of keeps it fresh in my head. But then the thing is, living in these areas where I've lived, luckily I've been in some pretty decent areas, minus the New Mexico area. It was a little not so great. I've been able to see a lot of stuff, living near Atlanta, here now in the Virginia Beach area and stuff. Most people come through cities like that because it's on the way to other bigger cities that are worth playing in. So over the years, I mean, I can't say how many shows that I've gone to, but it's been a pretty good number because I'd say like an average of at least like 3 a month for the most part if everything's going right. Sometimes there'll be some months where I might go like to two to 3 a week for that month, right? And then some months it might be a little lower, and it might be only, like I think in April, I only went to one, and it was metric, right? So you multiply that over again, 20 something years, it's been a lot of me standing around in various crowds, right? Watching various things. It's been a pretty good time, you know, it really has. And the reason I'm like even bringing this up is because I was just recording this video, and and it's late, right? I just got back from seeing City and Color. And I don't know if anybody out there really knows them or whatever, but it's kind of like a very acoustic-y, almost folky sort of thing. You know, it's got some electric in there too and stuff. So it gets not heavy, but like more powerful once in a while, if that's a good word to use. I don't know, but it's the word I said, so I'm going to stick with it and say that, yeah, it gets a more powerful sound once in a while. You double down on it. So there's that, right? And just watching them perform, it was like listening to the CD, which not everybody does, right? So I'm watching it like the musicians are like really, they're playing quite well, you know? All the stuff sounds really good. Didn't notice any like obvious mistakes or whatever. Sometimes you hear that stuff, whatever. But yeah, and then like the dude's voice seems like it would be difficult to do, but he was nailing it, man. But I've seen other bands like The Used where it's like you see it live and it does not sound like you would want it to sound, you know? So there was that. But it was a good time, you know? And so I was thinking about that on the way back. And, you know, I haven't really talked so much about this piece of what I do with my time. I mean, the wrestling stuff, everybody sees that because I buy their figures and, you know, I've got the stuff in the background. You often have on wrestling shirts or whatever. So yeah, it's clear that I'm a fan. I mean, I consider myself an actual fan of sneakers too, right? Shout out to Anthony Levine for that line there. But I do have those, but I mean, I still don't consider like my biggest thing. It's just kind of like a thing that I've fallen into and entertains me, so I do that. But the music thing, I figured, you know, I'm going to sit here, kind of ramble on a little bit about that or whatever. Because also I was just doing my like top 10 concerts of last year, so that kind of is also on my mind. And I had also in the past thought about doing reviews of the shows that I go to, you know, but I haven't, because going back to that whole laziness thing from a few minutes ago, yeah, that. Because, you know, I would try to get stuff like this out of the way first, and then the figure things, and then after that it's like the time to do other stuff is like here, because then other stuff is coming in. So, you know, it's one of those, but I might just start buying fewer shoes and stuff, and just so I can focus more on things, because it's not a whole lot that's super interesting anymore anyway. You know, a lot of it is all just repeats of older models in different colors. But either way, if you've been in any shows or whatever, or you care to talk about it, let's talk about it, because that's probably like the one thing that I actually can get into and wouldn't mind talking about. Other stuff is kind of hit and miss, especially with the way some people are. A lot of people just seem like they're just a little challenged in the mentals. So I don't know if I want to talk to this person. But either way, yeah, let me know. Let me know what you've been seeing or whatever. If there's any venues near you, maybe you have, because I do have those little exchanges with people once in a while. But that's going to be it from me to you. Have a nice rest of your day or rest of your night, whatever it is, wherever you are. I am now done recording things. Going to turn on some Band of Horses, because that's on my mind now, and relive that time that I saw them back in, it had to be Tricky Falls in El Paso, Texas, which I don't think is around anymore, which is unfortunate, because I had some really good nights there. But whatever. Speaking of good nights, it's been a good one, and now I'm done. Later, people.